Thanks for joining us today to talk about fall plants and beyond from Monrovia. To start our session today, love to ask your opinion. Which display would prompt purchase at your store? Which display idea would really make people motivated to buy plants? The first idea for an end cap is your fall color crush is here, an end cap with all yellow flowering and foliage plants that really catches the eye. Number two, easy fall containers, an end cap with plants that work well together in a fall container, and then a mock-up of what that container would look like. And then finally, treat yourself this fall, an end cap with a distinctive statement shrub that's really eye-catching and different, and capitalizes on the idea that people are really gardening for themselves, to treat themselves. So there are three ideas for displays, and we're getting responses right now. Kathleen, you want to tell us what's moving ahead?
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like many people are choosing fall containers. So it looks like we're going to end up with that being at about 71% of everybody's choosing that one.
Not surprising, because a fall container is always a kind of immediate, quick project idea that people really gravitate to. I think what's an interesting insight that we've learned is that people don't necessarily want to purchase an already created container. They want to feel a little bit like they made it, but they need help making it. So if you can group those appropriate plants together on the end cap with an example of what they can achieve, that is really going to drive purchase. So now that we've talked about some fall display ideas, I'd like to turn it over to Jonathan to give a sense of what we've got right now that can help you fill those displays.
Well, thanks, Katie, and welcome everybody. Glad you're here today. Yeah, fall is a great time for planting, but there are so many decorative ideas. And so I went around the nursery yesterday and I took all of the photos you're about to see, fresh, brand new photos from yesterday of what looks good around the nursery right now. So on this first page here, we have some really standouts. On the left there is a Rudbeckia. This is from the Smiley collection, and these Rudbeckias have fantastic full colors, those big cones with the real nice browns to yellow full colors. And that one is called Rudbeckia Kissing. And in the background, you can see a yellow variety, and that one's Rudbeckia Kissing. The one in the background is Smiley, which is a real bright yellow color. And these flower from now all the way through the fall. And so you're going to get this dramatic flower power. And what I really like about these is it covers its dead really well. The petals will fall off and you'll be left with that really nice cone, but new flowers will keep coming. And you can see it's got a lot of buds still pushing there. In the middle is a brand new poker, red hot poker plant from Terra Nova Nurseries. It's a Monrovia first to market this year, and it's called Rocket Junior. And it really is a blooming machine. But what I really like about this is its very short stature and habit. And you can see the flowers coming, and they're about the same height as the foliage. So rather than a normal poker that's going to get really quite tall, this one stays very compact and great full colors there. And then brand new, and just came out within the last couple of weeks, the new perennial plant of the year for 2023. And this is a brand new breeding from Intrinsic Perennials in Chicago. It was voted the best perennial in the garden in the Modern Arboretum for 2 years running. And this is the brand new variety called Gold Rush. So Gold Rush, and it is a stunning flowering machine all the way through the summer months, but well into the fall on this Rudbeckia. Hardy to zone 4. But just a blooming machine. And what I really like about it is it's compact and habit. And a lot of the Rebeckias kind of send out flowers and they can get a little messy in the garden. This one's really nice and compact. You can see just the flower power. That's a gallon plant right there, and just loaded with buds and blooms. So a great plant for now all the way through the fall months. Next up, you can't go past looking at some of the great pollinator plants for a bee-friendly type garden. Salvia nemorosas, you know, we tend to think of them as spring bloomers, but they continue to put out flushes of flower all the way through the summer months, well into the fall. And so Salvia nemorosas, we have lots to choose from right now. This one is Blue Baqueta, Salvia nemorosa, a great medium compact variety, just continues to flower and put on flushes of beautiful purple. And then some great new breeding work from Terra Nova again here on some new echinaceas. We have everything from singles to doubles, and really unique flower shapes and colors today. The breeding has come such a long way on echinaceas in the last decade. It's really unbelievable. And then we have a vast color range. And then also, you know, some great, the amount of flowers on these. And if you go into where we've got them growing, you can just hear the bees humming. They're just everywhere. For the shade, heuchera varieties, and three of my favorites. I'll start on the left, and this is a newer variety, Ruby Tuesday. Fantastic red color. I think it's the best red in the market. Fills the gallon container really well, but just really bright red coloration. So even when it's not flowering, the foliage color for a shady area will really kind of bring that to life. So Ruby Tuesdays. In the middle, that's a 2-gallon container. This is Grande Amethyst. And, you know, you don't really think of heucheras as a large plant. They're usually fairly compact, maybe with 12 inches by 12 inches. These Grandes will get up to 3 feet across in the garden and really make a statement. We have 2 colors, but this is amethyst. Fantastic if you're looking for something larger for the shade. Really bulletproof, zone 4 hardy, do well. It's got a mix of breeding in it, so it does well in a southern, more humid environment, but also all the way up through zone 4 in the upper Midwest, so reliably hardy. And then on the right, if you want purple, then to me, this is by far the best purple in the market. This is Forever Purple. And the color is really outstanding. And sometimes the photos on a Zoom just don't do these plants justice. And this is one when you drive past in the field, it just stands out, as does Ruby Tuesdays. Just 2 great plants for a shade garden. Really offset your hostas and other variegated plants in the shade. So some great new heuchera varieties to mix to your shade garden. They're also great in containers, and we don't often think of that for a heuchera, but they do really well in a container as well. And then for back to school or back to university, houseplants. We have a really nice, diverse collection of houseplants today with some really cool new ones coming. Georgia, did I hear Thai Constellation is on the way at Monrovia?
Yeah, we have Thai Constellation on order. I believe it should be here for 2023 sales. So,
yeah, so
that and some others that maybe are less known, but I think will be just as cool and exciting.
Yeah, so not your run-of-the-mill stuff, some real cool stuff. Monstera, Thai Constellation on the way. In fact, we actually have some already on the property, so I know it's for real. So a really great mix of houseplants coming. So look for that. We have them for both fall and spring, two separate crops, time for fall and spring sales. And then I'll finish up with some great shrubs that I think sometimes we don't think of shrubs for the fall, or we think of, you know, some tried and true standouts. But here are three that maybe not often thought of for fall color. First is the spirea on the left. And, you know, you can see just perfect habit, little round balls, and it is loaded with buds and flowers right now. So, you know, great plant for fall planting. You'll get a really nice bloom out of them, and then it'll go into the really great fall colors of oranges and maroons as we get deeper into cooler nights. In the middle there is a brand new Hypericum from Monrovia. This is a great variety. It is Sangrita. It has dark foliage, but that really bright red flower. And what I like about Hypericums, you want something for the front door in a container. These do great instead of a mum. And those flowers, the berries will last for 2 months. With that bright red color. So something more unique in offering, and you've got that dark foliage as well. Also good in the ground, but a great container plant for fall. And then for those in the upper Midwest, another bulletproof type plant, Potentilla. And again, we think of them as blooming in the spring. Not today. Our Potentillas will reflush, rebloom throughout the summer and fall months. And this is a great new one, Cheesehead Potentilla. And you can see that all of those yellow flowers about to burst onto the scene here. So add some sunshine to your fall display. And then we can't look past Hydrangea macrophyllus. Two that I really like in our Seaside Serenade collection today. The first one on the left, the purple, that is Seaside Serenade Newport. And there is nothing, and I mean nothing in the market today that has this color. The blooms are like plastic. They're very stiff. They last for months, but that color will just hold and hold and hold. Very compact growers. They will not flop open. Great in the garden, but fantastic in a container as well. And you get these colors. You can see the flower buds still coming. So you've got blooms, mop-head blooms coming for the next 2 months, all the way through September on these macrophylla. And then in the middle there, another one of my favorites, very different color, but that is Martha's Vineyard, and it is, I think, the best red on the market. That's a 2-gallon container. Look at that bloom count there. There's at least 40 blooms on the plant with more buds coming. So great standouts in our Seaside Serenade collection. And I know Georgia's got some new varieties she's also going to show you a little later. And then last but not least is one of our new roses. This is Grace and Grit Red. And again, we think of roses as spring and maybe going into the summer months, but these are exceptionally disease resistant and they will keep reflushing. I took this photo yesterday in Oregon, and you can see the amount of flowers coming on this crop. These will be flowering well into the fall months. Own root, disease resistant, just excellent for the fall and spring and summer. So just continuous blooms on our Grace and Grit rose collection. And then we can't think about fall without grasses. The one in the middle there that I want to draw your attention to, also from Intrinsic Perennials, the same gentleman that bred the Rebecca, and that is called Blackhawks, and it's a Pennisetum Blackhawks, and the color, again, it looks a little grayish here in person. It's quite black. So again, would be a great fall container planting, but also quite hardy. So think of that one, brand new grass, Blackhawks, and then the Caramagrostis, you can see there as well. Blonde Ambition, cool plant, cool flower seed head. Euphorbia, Ascot Rainbow, also a great new addition that we're growing here at Monrovia today. Reliably hardy, but great full color tones as well. And then you can see also you can't go wrong with a lot of different grasses for the fall. So some great grass selections available at Monrovia right now. And then as we get into the Christmas months this year, brand new, we're adding a pot sleeve. No difference in price, but we have a pot sleeve, and then we have a tag that goes on the plants as well, so that you can do it as a gift item for those Christmas months. And then the great thing about the sleeve is after Christmas, take it off and you're back to the Monrovia green pot. So you're not left with an outdated fire engine red pot after the holiday months. So something new to talk to your sales rep about this fall and winter for those Christmas orders. So the live living Christmas tree. We would love to see you come and visit us. I took this photo yesterday. We are set up with our expo in Oregon. We'll keep this set up for a couple of weeks here, but next week is a Far West Show week, and we're set up for dinners every night. So come on by. We would love to see any customers that are coming out to Oregon. Please stop by. Let your sales rep know. We'll get you set up with a great tour, and we've made it as simple and easy as possible. We've also brought up a good portion of our California plants to the Oregon nursery, so you can really see a broad, diverse grouping of what we have to offer for this fall and next spring. So get a jump start on spring over the next couple of weeks in Oregon. We'd love to see you.
Thanks, Jonathan. Speaking of spring, would love to hear, Georgia, what you think are going to be the real showstoppers for next year. So like, take us through your selections.
Yeah, absolutely. So these plants I'm going to go over are new for 2023. They're certainly not all of the new plants, but they're a really great selection that I'd like to show you today. So the first one is Bridal Veil Agapanthus. This is a new Monrovia exclusive Agapanthus. It is super compact. It's going to flower and be about 12 inches tall is all. The flowers are held on this really nice, short, stocky scape, and it just has a ton of flower power. Beautiful, brilliant white flower. On the bottom right there, you can see that's from our trials when we were looking at this plant. Just totally covered in blooms and really quite full in the container. It's quite a robust grower. So we really, really are excited about this in 2023. And then next is Anaxanthus, a fantastic drought-tolerant perennial. This is the Celebration series. We are first to market on it. We did a soft launch this year, so you may have seen it, but you'll see more of it next year. They have beautiful, exciting new colors, totally not something you'd see on the market. We have the vivid purples, that peacock blue color, and then one of my favorites is Fireworks with that bright blue within that pink base. It's just totally unique, super fantastic cut flower, good disease resistance, and also really nice garden performance as well.
What I would say about these also is, if you're in a colder region, these would be a good annual to bring in, great for a summer container. The scape is, I would say, medium size, Georgia. So, they would play well with some other annuals in a container. And the colors, unfortunately, again, I don't think these photos do the colors justice. In person, these colors are incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they really turn heads at the docks. They were quite extraordinary last spring.
Yeah, beautiful. Another wonderful, fantastic color improvement is this banana split Daphne. This was actually found at our Oregon nursery. It's a sport off of Ario marginata. It's much more stable, which is great for production, but it also has a brighter yellow, super vivid variegation to it. And so not only is it brighter yellow, but it's also much wider and more pronounced. And so you just have this really beautiful, colorful Daphne that's going to stay that way. It's not going to go green on you. And it just brings this really bright, nice foliage, along with, of course, that beautiful, fragrant Daphne flower as well. And then another fragrant flower is this Mijmi Fire Hedychium. This is another wonderful container plant, very tropical looking, has those large, lush leaves and that beautiful spiky flower. Like I said, it's very fragrant. Hedychium is typically, it thrives in the southeastern United States, so on that heat and humidity. This particular selection actually does relatively well in the cool climates as well in the West. So it doesn't need quite as much heat and humidity as other hedychiums. So we've seen it performing really well in areas where it normally wouldn't. But again, if you are not hardy to zone 7 through 10, this is another great annual for that tropical look in a container, maybe by your pool or in your patio. It would be really beautiful. And Jonathan spoke about two of our favorites, Seaside Serenades, that are currently on the market, but we are also introducing 2 more new Seaside Serenade hydrangeas. Again, we did a soft launch this year and we'll have a little more next year. The first one is this Crystal Cove. This has a beautiful, large lace cap flower. It starts off with this blush white center and then a deep purple pink, very dramatic undulated edge. Those flowers, as they age, the white becomes less prominent and it becomes more mauve shades throughout. So a really gorgeous plant. These are fantastic cut flowers. They're super unique for a lace cap. Very strong stems and great rebloom on this as well. You can also sort of see a little bit in this photo, but in person, the foliage also has a little bit of that mauvey purple tone to it during parts of the season as well. And then the next is Glacier Bay. We really love this plant because it is just incredibly unique. Hydrangea macrophylla aren't typically a modern shrub. They're more of the cottage style, old-fashioned style plants, but Glacier Bay is really quite modern. It has that pure white lace cap flower and then that contrasting jet black, pure black stem. It is super unique and a really cool plant for more of a modern landscape. These have a very bushy, sturdy habit, just like you'd expect. So 3 to 4 feet tall and wide, and a good repeat bloom as well. So really great additions to the Seaside Serenade collection, I think. Then next up is a fantastic new evergreen from Dr. Reuter. This is Emerald Boxer Ilex. Very dark green foliage, so similar to the Emerald Colonnade in foliage. It's from that same breeding program, just a different shape and habit. So this is more of an intermediate hedge. So the mature size is going to be about 6 feet tall by 6 feet wide or so. Good disease resistance and also good mite resistance as well. That bottom right photo there is showing you the mother plant. So this is a plant straight out of Dr. Reuter's field. It's beautiful specimen, perfectly formed, and not a lot of care gets taken into those sort of plants. So you can see how it will be in a homeowner's landscape without a lot of inputs.
But we are going to be selling it shared, so it will be, perfect ball shape. We'll be doing that at the nursery, so it's going to have that structure and shape, so it'll make it a lot easier for a homeowner to keep it that shape.
Mm-hmm. Next up is our summer lasting crepe myrtles. We've introduced 3 last year, so the raspberry, coconut, and strawberry. 2023 will bring us summer lasting plum, which is a new color for the series. It's that gorgeous purple flower color and green foliage. This series as a whole is fantastic. It was bred for lots of flowers that start early and they bloom over a long season. So you're getting earlier flowers, but not at the expense of the rest of the season. You're going to keep repeat blooming throughout the year. They also have really fantastic disease resistance to Cercospora and powdery mildew. We test that heavily. We trial so many different varietals of Lagerstromia to test that, and these have been really, really beautiful growers for us. The habits are also nice and compact and bushy, so they're naturally going to stay about 3 feet tall by 3 feet wide. Again, I plugged in a breeder photo from the breeder fields on the bottom right, just to give you an idea of what that looks like in the landscape. So on the bottom right is Summer Lasting Plum in the breeder fields. You can see just how nice and compact it is and just how floriferous it is. It's really truly more of a flowering shrub rather than a small tree like you would think of a crepe myrtle.
What an exciting foundation plant, or like a, low hedge. I mean, really stunning to see that image, Georgia, because you've been talking about the Summer Lasting series for a while, but I think everybody has crepe myrtles in their mind, in a certain form. And this is just really unique.
Yeah, and great drought tolerance as well. So a great drought tolerant flowering shrub for the garden.
Yeah, I would just add to that on those that it is brand new breeding. It's not breeding from the USA, and we are the only ones that have the breeding from this breeder. So it is new to the market, but we, as Georgia said, we extensively trialed this against a lot of the stuff that's in the market today. And with our nursery in Cairo, Georgia, Cercospora pressures are very, very high there. It's so hot and humid. And so, they came through with flying colors down there, and really unique offering.
Another we feel unique offering is this Buttons and Bows Charm, Laura Petalum. A very, very dark purple foliage. It holds itself really well throughout the season. This is another Monrovia exclusive plant. Good hardiness, so zone 7. It has that deep pink, almost red flower, and it is super abundantly flowering from spring, and then it repeats throughout the year. Katie has been talking a lot about this trend of dark meets light, this high contrast, very modern trend that we're seeing a lot of desire for from consumers. And something like this Buttons and Bows Charm really hits that trend on the head with that dark foliage and that super bright flower. Really beautiful plant, a nice intermediate size as well, so 5 feet tall by 5 feet wide or so. And next up is Crown Shine Osmanthus. This is a Dan Hinckley exclusive evergreen shrub, a beautiful, small foliaged, toothy evergreen, really quite dark green foliage. And then the new growth is sort of a limey light green, and then it has a tint of orange to it as well. So you get that really beautiful coloration on this really nice evergreen shrub. It does produce a small white flower in the spring that's relatively fragrant. So it does have a little added something for a little added extra in the spring.
Yeah, great texture in the garden too.
Mm-hmm. So next up, we have been out of the Formium game for a while, it seems, but we are back in with this gorgeous new introduction called Indigo Pearl Formium. Really love this plant. It has a beautiful upright, stiff foliage. It has grown beautifully for us. That bottom right photo is from our trials, which we give hardly any TLC to at all, just to try to see how it's going to grow. And this just blew us away. It was absolutely stunning. And the coloration is awesome too. So you get that really dark, almost plum colored center. And then you have anywhere from a creamy pink edge to a creamy white edge. So you get this really beautiful multi-tone effect with these really beautiful, healthy foliage as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, so you could use this irreplaceably with a quarter line.
Mhm.
It's got a slightly wider front than a quarter line does. But the color again, I think in person, the pink on the dark is really intense, and we're not quite seeing that here online in the photo as well as it is in person. And this is breeding work from New Zealand, and being that I'm a Kiwi, we had to get back into formium. So we're starting off with a good one.
So the next up is a Physocarpus dark star. So we trialed a ton of dark foliage Physocarpus, basically every dark foliage Physocarpus on the market here in the US, and even many that are on the market in Europe. And dark star is the deepest and darkest foliage color. So if you're looking for a black Physocarpus, dark star is the one that you want to look at. It has this really dramatic black foliage that holds well throughout the season. It's also incredibly high shine, super glossy foliage. In the spring, it emerges in that really beautiful burgundy red purple hue. And then it does deep into that nearly black. Really beautiful color, really beautiful shine. The foliage is also is larger. So as opposed to some of the smaller foliage, it's larger, which I think brings a really nice texture to the garden, or a mixed shrub hedge area. So this is a really nice dark foliage shrub, great intermediate size again. So 5 feet tall by 5 feet wide. So perfect to fill a space, but not quite too large, where someone with a smaller garden wouldn't be able to grow it as well. And next up is Pittosporum. This is another new Monrovia exclusive for 2023. Wonderful upright shrubby habit. We selected this really though for its super unique foliage color. We really love that lime green foliage. You can see it has sort of an irregular green margin. So you get that really beautiful multi-tone green look, and then hard to tell in the photo, but in person, you can see just the slightest pale white veination. So you get this really beautiful, unique foliage, and then paired with that dark stem on the Pittosporum is really quite wonderful. This is a 10-foot tall shrub by 8 foot wide. So a nice full shrub, great to fill in an area of the garden.
Yeah, and we're really seeing a rise, I think, in popularity of that lime, yellow, sort of this bright, happy shades, even in something, that you think of, oh, Pittosporum, a somewhat ordinary shrub, but seeing some really new, exciting color variations that gardeners are really telling us that they're excited by.
Mm-hmm. So next are a couple of conifers, that we found at our Oregon nursery. So this one is Jeannie Colorado Blue Spruce. This was selected by our conifer grower many years ago. They noticed one plant growing in the midst of the Colorado blue spruce that was a much bluer foliage that held onto that blue foliage for a lot longer than the traditional straight species type. They also noticed that it was a bit slower growing. So this is going to be a bit more compact and a lot more brilliant, bright blue than traditional Colorado blue spruce. We also really like that it does have a really beautiful creamy new growth tip to it. So you have a really nice spring point of interest. And then again, that brilliant bright blue foliage that'll hold you through for the rest of the year. And then the other conifer that was selected by that conifer grower in Oregon, keen eye on him, is the Andean Gold Austrian pine. So this was selected for a bright golden yellow new growth in the spring. So you get that beautiful pop of color on the Austrian pine, which is fantastic for harsh drying winds. So great windbreak, a really nice large landscape specimen with that cheerful bright pop of yellow. So in 2023, we are introducing quite a few new roses. The first one being this Grace and Grit white shrub. So you all are familiar probably with our Grace and Grit rose collection. All super disease resistant, all on their own route, repeat blooming and self-cleaning, really fantastic landscape shrubs. Going to be about 4 feet tall by 4 feet wide. So we are adding this beautiful white flower to that collection, a nice, crisp, clear, pure white flower. But we've also been working with breeders for a few years now, really to get flowers with more fragrance, higher petal counts, even climbing roses, all of these features that consumers have really been letting us know that they're looking for, but have been missing from the market, especially in terms of breeding that's easy care and disease resistant. So we've really been focusing on that, and we have quite a few new introductions for next year that really prioritize those features. And one of those is Heavenly Ascent Climbing Rose. So this is our collection of climbing roses, beautiful, old-fashioned, high petal count look, very fragrant flowers as well. These are smaller climbers, so only going to be 8 feet tall or so in the landscape, so a nice size for a pergola or an archway without getting too out of hand. But we really love the high petal count. We really love the fragrance. These are also on their own route with that dark glossy green foliage and good disease resistance. And then next is Itsy Bitsy Peach. This is a true miniature rose, so 18 inches tall. I've seen it get about 1.5 feet, and that's all it's going to get by 2 feet wide or so. So a really beautiful mini. Love the deep yellow orange flower buds that open to that golden yellow flower. You can see on that bottom right, that is a picture from our trials in Cairo, Georgia. It is a tough place to trial roses, but a great place to figure out if you have a good rose, because if it does well there, it's going to do well for disease resistance pretty much anywhere else, because the heat and humidity is just so extreme. These have had excellent mildew resistance, excellent rust resistance. They've just been super clean. That photo was taken at the end of July into August of last year. So totally bulletproof in the heat. It's looking fantastic. Really quite a vigorous bloomer as well. So it just continually blooms. And the flowers are about 1.5 inches or so, which is actually quite large for a miniature rose. So really beautiful, nice for containers or even edging a pathway or something like that.
Yeah, I love the variation in color with the blooms, you know, on this rose. Very romantic kind of feel, perfect for cottage style gardens.
Another great new rose that really prioritizes fragrance is this Ude perfume collection. Really nice, large, classic looking blooms with many, many petals, a truly fantastic fragrance. These are the kinds that you walk past and you can smell them without even really trying. Absolutely gorgeous, glossy foliage. They're going to bloom spring through fall and repeat bloom, and has been really quite disease resistant as well for us.
I would just add that with these roses, one of the things that we were really trying to do here was we had done quite a few consumer looking at asking consumers what they were missing or looking for. And on roses, it was really fragrance that has been bred out of roses for the last 25 years because of disease resistance, which we need. But it's something that consumers just kept saying to us in surveys we were doing, I want fragrance in my garden. I want fragrance. And so we were really looking to bring that back. And we've trialed, oh, Georgia, I don't know how many thousands of roses we've trialed, and they had the fragrance, but all by Mother's Day, black spot had taken over and no leaves left. They were like patio trees. So, you know, it's taken us a while to really pick a few. And the other thing we heard was climbers. I need something for a pergola, or, you know, something to go over something in my yard. And so that's why we're adding to our rose line. And it is with, you know, Katie, good consumer research.
Yeah.
Yep, and we're continuing to add to these collections, hopefully, so we'll have some more colors coming out. But another new rose that I'm really excited about are these Rosa rugosas. Rugosa roses are super hardy. They're hardy to zone 3, which is fantastic. The trouble is with rugosas, most of the time they're quite ugly in the landscape. They get sprawly and they're hard to manage and maintain. But these seaside swirls are quite compact and really have a beautiful, well-branched habit. They are only 3 feet tall by 3 feet wide. These stood out because of their habit and also because of their flowers. They really do put on a great flower. Again, nice fragrance. Pollinator plants, so rugosas are great for pollinators. They have those nice open flowers that the bumblebees really, really love. And they're just so much easier to maintain, the seaside swirls in the garden, than any other rugosa rose that I've seen or that we've even been trialing at any of our nurseries. So really excited about this collection as well.
Wonderful fragrance also.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Next up is Spirea. So this is Butterscotch Baby. We really love this plant. We feel it's quite a unique offering in the Spirea collection. In the spring, which is that larger photo, is a spring photo. That foliage is going to emerge beautiful, caramely, almost deep butterscotch, and then have more of that chartreuse backing to it. And then in the fall, it's going to turn almost completely that butterscotch amber color. So a really unique, deep amber foliage color, quite different than some of the other oranges on the market. It really is a true amber butterscotch. Another thing that makes this really quite unique is its habit. So it's only going to be about 1.5 feet tall by 2 feet wide. So more of like a mushroom cap in habit. So nice mounded, super petite and super colorful offering. That and on the bottom right is what it would look like in the landscape. So really nice for edging a pathway. Would maybe be an interesting container plant as well with the habit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, real surprising, Spirea.
The crop in Oregon looks fabulous right now. It's in flower and bud, perfectly timed in gallons and twos. Looks fantastic.
Wonderful. Next up is a couple of new thuyas. This one is Prairie Pillar. So great sun tolerance for a golden foliage thuya. This is more pyramidal in habit, so 15 feet tall by 8 feet wide or so, and it's getting broader towards the base, but does really nice in full sun without much burn at all. And it does get this really nice orange coloration in the spring with its new growth. And then the next one is Upstanding Emerald. We're calling it Upstanding because whereas Prairie Pillar got more of the pyramidal shape, this is more narrow and upright. So great for hedging, great for creating a green wall, even for places that maybe don't have a lot of room. It's going to be, 15 feet tall by maybe 8 feet wide, probably a little less. But nice and narrow, upright, perfect for those green walls, and great emerald green color. And then next is a new Weigelia that we've introduced called Cocoa Chill. Really beautiful dark purple foliage that holds that purple really well. So some Weigelia tend to green out, green up in the foliage, but this really does hold that color well. And then it does have that bright pink flower. So we were growing Cocoa Crunch. This is our replacement for Cocoa Crunch, just because one, that dark purple foliage we feel is a little darker, holds a little better, but it also has improved hardiness. So we've seen less issues with overwintering Cocoa Chill than Cocoa Crunch and some of the other Weigelias on the market. So these should do better for you if you have some issues overwintering Weigelia. Cocoa Chill will be great because it has a little bit of Canadian breeding in it, so it's a little hardier.
And again, it carries out that trend of really dark foliage, bright flowers that consumers are looking for.
Yep. And next is another great evergreen shrub. We're calling it Orangina. Beautiful, fresh, orangey yellow new growth, as you can see pictured there. And then that foliage will turn this bright crimson red in the cooler months. So the fall, the winter, it'll be this brilliant bright red. This is another great mid-sized shrub, so 4 feet tall by 4 feet wide, naturally wants to mound itself. So that bottom right photo is from our trials when we were selecting it. Really great habit, really nice colorful tips, just really beautiful in the garden or in a container as well. This is a super unusual species that Dan Hinckley brought to us. So while there's currently no common name on the plant, we're calling it Vaccinium because that's the genus. And although it's a Vaccinium, it's not an edible. So that's something to note. When you see Orangina, it's really a true evergreen shrub. It's going to really be a great alternative to boxwood for those leaner, rockier soils as well.
And that photo at the bottom there is without any pruning whatsoever. It just naturally has that wonderful ball-shaped habit, and the new growth color is a striking orange.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really pretty.
Mm-hmm. So changing gears a little bit over to more perennial type plants. This is Ninetta begonia. This is a cane type begonia. This is quite a different sport off of Irenaeus, if you're familiar with that plant. This has more spotted foliage, so more heavily spotted and more crinkled leaf margins. So a really beautiful, nice house plant for those of you who are not lucky enough to be hardy to have this outdoors in the garden, but also a great garden plant as well. And then next up is Campanula. This is Arctic Falls, another super hardy selection all the way down to zone 3. Really love this purple flower with the white center. It does bloom for quite a long bloom season. One thing that makes Arctic Falls really quite unique, one of the reasons why we selected it is because the foliage, it's really quite wavy, making it look unique. And then in the spring, it has that beautiful purple red tinge to it. So it's quite special in the spring. And then it does have quite a long bloom season as well. Really love the spreading habit. So a good ground cover plant, or even great for baskets or maybe a window box, letting it hang over.
Mm-hmm. Just lovely for that.
I just think on that plant also, it's that plant was bred by Adrian Bloom, who's an Englishman, very well known, Blooms of Bressingham, written some of the best books on perennials that are out there. And so this is one of Adrian's plants. He has some of the best-selling perennials in the world. One of his other introductions, Geranium Roseanne. Really excited to be able to offer this, and we're working closely with Adrian on a few other exciting perennials to come.
Mm-hmm. So next up is Heuchera. We selected these 2 new Heuchera, the Sienna Sunrise and the Balboa Sunset, for their really nice, dramatic, undulated foliage combined with their nice, deep, dramatic foliage colors. So each of these plants have a brilliant, bright pink underside. And so when you get that undulated edge, you're really seeing not only the front of the foliage, which is either ambers and yellows for the Sienna Sunrise or purples and reds for Balboa Sunset, but you're also seeing it in conjunction with the bright pink underside. So you get this really beautiful multi-tone effect on these Heucheras that have performed really well for us as far as foliage health and vigor. They've just done really well, and they provide a really nice, unique pop of color. So we have a new lantana. This is new breeding from Dr. Durr, called Casablanca. This is a Monrovia exclusive. We've been seeing a lot of new annual type lantanas coming out on the market, but not a lot of new landscape type lantanas. And this is a true landscape type. It's hardy all the way down to zone 7. This has been in Dr. Durr's gardens. I think I saw a photo of it from 12 years. It's 12 years old in his garden in Atlanta, and so it's truly hardy. Really nice, naturally spreading habit with that fantastic, intense golden orange flower color on it. And then we'll also have annual types for next year as well. So we have Casablanca, the landscape type, and then Fiesta, which is our series of annual types. This series is entirely sterile. It does not produce a seed, which is really excellent, not only for ecological reasons, but also because it just gives you really great summer-long performance. It's going to bloom really heavily and it provides excellent colors. The habit is semi-trailing, so I'd say somewhere between a spreading habit and something like the red hot, or the hot blooded, which is more of like the true ball. This is somewhere in between, so a really nice habit and great flower colors as well. And I know, Jonathan, you talked a little bit about plants available for fall, but I just wanted to highlight again some of the newest first to market plants we have available now. We're always constantly adding first to market plants. We'll have more for next year, but these are some that we have on the ground that are absolutely gorgeous. We have, of course, beautiful echinaceas, these fantastic doubles, the fresco apricot, which almost looks like a zinnia. Rocket Junior, which Jonathan mentioned, is much more compact and heavy flowering. We also have Sun Lover Crocosmia, super floriferous and has a gorgeous orangey, pink, yellow multi-tone flower. Gorgeous landscape plant. And then next to that, lastly, is Pink Pearl Agastache. This is one of my favorite agastache. It has these extra large, super fluffy flowers, and tons of them. And then it does have a nice salmon bud that opens to a light pink flower, giving you this really beautiful two-tone look. And again, that flower is extra large. It's quite unique for that agastache. And that was all I had for today.
Well, that was a lot. So much to look forward to in spring. And as you know, we talked about, so much of what is driving our new plant selection is our consumer research into, you know, what people are seeking. And I want to just spend a few minutes at the end of our webinar today talking about how that consumer research also informs some of our display and poster ideas that that maybe you can use, you know, for the coming year. So recently in our latest consumer research, you know, we saw that gardeners say they went to a garden center and they ended up buying something that they didn't plan to buy. Not surprising, you know, they're looking at your garden center as a place for inspiration, education, and of course they're going to leave, hopefully, with something that maybe they bought on impulse, or they realized they didn't know they needed until they saw it. And 42% are inspired to purchase by your displays. So that's why it's really important to think about what you're putting together and how you're putting things together beyond the category of plant, or even beyond problem solving for people like, you know, shade lovers or water wise. Those displays really work, but what are some other ways that you can tap into consumer motivation? Every year we conduct a study among homeowners who have purchased plants in the last year. We do this without mentioning it's from Monrovia. It's an online survey with 1,500 homeowners across the country, and we ask them quite a battery of questions to get an understanding of what's going to motivate them for next year. And an interesting insight that we learned this year. So this survey, we just have the results last month, and the interest in outdoor projects is actually higher than last year, which seems to run counter to what we've all seen in sales, right? We've seen a little bit of dipping in terms of consumer interest as people have gotten more interested in travel and getting out, you know, into, you know, restaurants again. But that's just pent-up demand. And I think people are really interested in making the most of their home space. And that's going to continue for next year. We're seeing a real call for new outdoor furniture, re-landscaping, and even adding an edible garden to the landscape. Those all increased from last year. They increased about 10% in terms of what people are planning to do. So a few trends that we think can turn into gorgeous displays. One of them is the Garden of Abundance trend. Now, this reflects some insights such as the fact that 80% of Monrovia gardeners are seeking plants for pollinators. That is why they're selecting plants, not just in spring, but in fall. It's the #1 motivator in terms of buying a container, actually, that we've seen. You know, I want to attract pollinators, I want to feed the bees, I want to get butterflies and hummingbirds into my garden. We're also seeing that 40% of younger homeowners who are spending more want to add edible plants to their garden. And so this trend takes advantage of both of those ideas, grouping brightly colored pollinator plants and edible ornamentals like figs, berries, and herbs together in one display really reaches gardeners who want a productive landscape. And you could even have a sign in your display that says, make your garden more productive. That is really going to appeal to what we call the whole earth gardener, the gardener that's trying to do the right thing, make their garden not just productive for themselves, but really for the environment. A really hot trend that you can capitalize both on in the fall and especially in the spring. Another key trend that would make a great display idea is the relaxing retreat trend. The #1 reason people are saying that they garden is to create a place to relax and rewind. We gave them a list of like 20 choices. Why do you garden? You know, is it to add value to your home? Is it to entertain? The #1 reason to relax and rewind. In fact, 47% of homeowners who buy plants say they do it because it's good for their mental health and well-being. Gardening represents an escape from the stress that we're all feeling, especially in the last few years. So how you can create a display that really motivates this consumer is to create a display that really helps them visualize how to turn their backyard into that relaxing retreat. It's mixing large leafed plants, soothing colors, grasses that catch the breeze, reminding your consumers of being on vacation in their own backyard. You can even add, you know, a water or wind chime element to this display, pops of tropical color. And again, this is something that could work in the fall as well as in the springtime. And finally, the stylish outdoor room trend. 40% of homeowners who buy plants plan to purchase new outdoor furniture next year, or they want to buy a fire pit. And once they invest in those pieces, they're in the backyard, they're looking around. How do I actually create this outdoor room? How can I complement and accessorize this outdoor furniture? Why not show them how to do that by creating a display, you know, maybe show a little bit of outdoor furniture next to this display and really help them see that creating a stylish, easy care outdoor room is all about combining colors of, you know, green shrubs, easy care green shrubs and topiaries with pops of white or blue for a really elegant and timeless look. We actually have planograms for all of these display ideas if you're interested in creating something like this. And the great thing is it's really versatile. It's not, you don't have to buy specific plants to follow this trend. You can make it work for the plants that you're already purchasing. It's just about putting them together to create more of an impact for the consumer so that when they walk into your garden center, they think, oh my gosh, how did they know that I was looking for that? So I hope that you'll think about these ideas and any other ways that we can help with our consumer research in your spring merchandising and marketing plan for next year. And with that, I think we've reached almost the end of our hour, but we might have some room for a couple questions.
Yeah, we do have a couple of questions here that I'll field to you guys. We did have a great comment. Somebody said they want everything, which as your target consumer, I can relate to that for sure. So Jonathan, one of the first questions that we had here is how long are your plants trialed before they are released to the trade?
Well, that's a really good question, and probably we should have Georgia answer it. She's our trialing manager. But it really depends on what it is and where it came from. So, and what we're trialing for. So if we're trialing for hardiness, we want to have a minimum of 3 winters before we feel zone confident if we're going to trial something for a zone 4 type winter setting. When it comes to heat and humidity, we want at least 2 really good seasons before we feel confident on that. If it's a perennial that's from a breeder that we know and a genus that we're very familiar with, and it's just an updated color, then some of those we'll do a first to market, and we will have had 10 plants in our bullpens, and we will make that decision pretty quickly. With a woody ornamental, from breeding to bringing to market, I would say on average is 10 years. So it can be a lengthy process. A rose, about the same. By the time we've built up numbers and have a good number to bring to the trade, right around 8 to 10 years. A perennial, shorter. If we can do it from tissue culture, we can speed that up a little. But you really are looking, even with a perennial, around about 4 years.
Thank you for that. Georgia, we have a few people asking, what is the difference between bridal veil apicanthus or agapanthus and double diamond?
Yeah, that's a good question, because they are both compact white agapanthus, but there are some differences. One is that double diamond, as the name would suggest, is more of a double flower, so that's a big difference in flower type. I also think we've noticed bridal veil is a bit more vigorous in growth, so it fills out the container a little bit better. Some of the compact varieties can be a little bit compact also in the foliage and filling out the container, but this really does a good job of filling. Also, the bridal veil flower to me is a little more crisp and clean, pure white. And the scapes also, they flower a little bit more compact right up above the foliage.
Great. Katie, I have a question for you too that just came in, and we get this all the time on our webinars. They want to know what variety of fern is behind you in your background.
This is Lady Pterodactyl. It's part of the Jurassic Fern series from Dan Hinckley, and it's definitely one of my favorites.
It's a great one. So we're right at the top of the hour here now. So I think that that is about all we have time for today. If you have follow-up questions, please contact your Monrovia representative and we'll get you the information that you need right away. And you will be receiving a link to today's conversation in just probably a few days. So Jonathan, if you want to.
Well, I'd just like to finish off by saying thank you very much for taking the time today. I know an hour is precious. Hope you felt that this was valuable. Please let us know how we can add more value. Looking forward to fall and to next spring and exciting new plants we're bringing to market. So thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.